we're going to learn about Microsoft Endpoint Manager with Intune. So before I talk about anything, you know that SCCM, which is the System Center Configuration Manager we called earlier, now it has been completely renamed. When I say renamed, the product has been renamed to a Microsoft Endpoint Manager. It's a completely different product. Earlier, it was part of System Center family. Now, the configuration manager was moved from Endpoint Manager to Microsoft. From System Center to Endpoint Manager, it has moved. So when they branded this 2019 about Microsoft Endpoint Manager, they come up with a different products actually. Some of them are existing, some of them are completely new. So the first one would be the Microsoft Intune. Earlier, it used to be available as a standalone. Now they made it Intune part of this product family. So if you're quite new to what is a product family, a product family means like you have a multiple products can be part of that branding. So in this case, Microsoft Endpoint Manager is the actual brand name, and inside that you have 5 different technologies or 5 different products. Okay, I use two words. One is a technology, other one is the product. So it can be any of them. So in this case, Microsoft Intune was used to be a standalone. Now it is part of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Similarly, earlier SCCM we used to call it that. Now completely what happened is with that config mgr has been uh, just as it is moved to endpoint manager, meaning the functionality was not changed even from Intune point of view or config mgr side. It's as it is, but it is comes under Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Similarly, there is some new application called new software or new technology called cloud-based service. This is also called desktop analytics, or in a short we call it as a DEA. So what happens is with the DA, you can easily find the right pilot machines. When I say right pilot machines for deploying the operating system upgrades. Let's say you are currently on a 1809 and you want to move to maybe a 20H2 example. So you used to do it for only on a few of the test missions which you know, but you don't know which mission may or which application may not work. So this cloud based service, which is a DA, desktop analytics services, will analyze the applications and drivers, hardware models, and then whether this can be completed to upgrade to Windows next version of the build. So that's where desktop analytics can help you out. Now coming back to the co-management, it's like a bridge. Like you want to manage some kind of environment with SCCM as well as with the Intune, then co-management will be used. I'm going to talk on all of these one by one. If you see here, I have already listed them. I'm going to talk on in detail, but this is just to give you that there are 5 different products. And the other one would be the Windows Autopilot. It's not a product, it's a technology. If you remember, I begin with differentiating these are different products or a technology. In this case, Windows Autopilot is a technology, meaning anybody can use it, technology, if you know how to use that. So Autopilot in the backend, Microsoft will take care of automated operating system building purpose. Let's say you used to do it Windows operating system deployment with earlier with the help of SCCM, right? Now with the Autopilot, what happens is the WOOB experience can be fully automated. WOOB means the regional settings, language, and joining the machine to the domain. All of that stuff can be fully automated with the help of Windows Autopilot, and it has different options within that. We are going to learn that also. Okay, so let's consolidate what we have so far discussed. So far we have discussed that Microsoft Endpoint Manager is it contains 5 different either products you call it or technologies, no matter. Okay, so we talked about 5 different things. So let's actually begin with Microsoft Intune. Okay, what we are going to learn is we are going to learn about Microsoft Intune, a part of a CCM specific to the co-management, and also Windows Autopilot. So what we are not learning is here DA, because that's completely different topic altogether, and the most of the stuff we are going to learn within our course content. Okay, so let's understand what exactly Microsoft Intune. So Microsoft Intune is close to 8 to 10 years, I think so. This product is there when it was introduced to manage the mobile devices, but now it has evolved a lot to manage not just the mobile devices. It also can manage now your Windows operating systems, and when I say mobile devices, it can be Android or Apple devices, even Mac devices can be managed. Meaning, when I say managed, you can deploy the applications, or you can deploy some kind of automated configurations can be deployed, including group policies and joining the machine to a domain or ADMX files, or deploying the applications maybe from store, Apple Store, or maybe Google Store, or Microsoft Store, or directly deploying some kind of MSIs, or maybe Apex format. Different format applications also can be deployed with the help of Microsoft Intune. So coming back to this specific slide, I have a dedicated slide, but just to want to give you here high level what exactly Microsoft Intune. Microsoft Intune is a cloud-based service which can utilize very similar to the SCCM earlier, but now it has evolved, and this product also part of Endpoint Manager. Meaning, if you have a license for Intune or maybe Config MGR, it's one and the same. So you can use these products without any additional licensing cost. SCCM basically focused on endpoint management for your on-premises machines. Of course, if you extend it with the HTTPS capabilities and cloud management gateway and cloud DBs, you can also work on a machines that are internet based, so you can manage them. But at the same time, that has its own limitations when compared with Microsoft Intune. For example, you wanted to manage maybe mobile devices, which cannot be done from a config mgr. Earlier they used to give it, later point they have disconnected, and they wanted to separate two different products. Later point now, as in date, it's a co-management. So what exactly co-management? So I haven't used a word called, it's a bridge, so it's the right time to I use a word called bridge. So once again, yeah, co-management is like a bridge. So what exactly a bridge? Bridge is, if for example, if you're walking from this place to here, you reach your destination, right? Maybe from here to here, if you walk, you might reach another destination here. So think that this is a CCM side example, and this might be an Intune. Let's say a few features are very good from Microsoft side, like SCCM is working very well for operating system deployment, or maybe some kind of application deployment, or maybe patching. Example, okay. So in that situation, SCCM is managing very well for few of the features, let's say, and for few of them are fully managed or are really good in terms of security. For example, Intune, let's say if there is a user coming from home location, we can block that user with the help of Intune. In the backend, we use some kind of conditional access policies, and we will block that user. Hey, you cannot use a computer that is coming that is non-corporate device, right? You can say that kind of powerful capabilities directly from Intune point of view. So that's one example. We're going to explore a lot of real-time scenarios in the when we go on. So now with the co-management, so you want these kind of features. Example, so meaning a simple device can have a two agents. If you see here, SCCM client is there, also Intune agent also available. Meaning some of the features, if you want to set it, let's say patching should only happen from Intune, you can configure that, and applications deployment can happen from SCCM. Like that, you can configure on the single device. So there is a bridge, right? There's a connectivity between your SCCM and Intune. So you can move your workload. So I used a word called now, two words I used here. If you remember, one is a bridge, other one would be the workload. So what exactly a workload? Workload can be like a patching asset or device complaints policies, or maybe some kind of settings. All these are actually a features of your SCCM or maybe from Intune. So those features completely we can move uh, from a Intune point of view or to SCCM point of view. That's called workload. So these workloads can be moved left side or right side. This is called the co-management. So we are going to explain this. For this, you need to have the SCCM infrastructure. So we are going to do that. Okay. But till now, so far, are you clear with the co-management?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but can you just go a bit slower, if you don't mind?
Ye- Yeah, sure. Okay. So
Thank
what
you so
happens
much.
is, yeah, what happens
Yeah.
is, when since I know, the lot of in and
No, I
outers,
know, I
so
can
sometimes I
understand.
go, okay, no worries. So so the thing is like, to be frank, the slides are just the 1%. Okay, that is just a few more minutes. Later point,
Okay.
we are not going to work with any of these slides. Everything is a practical with the
Okay.
live scenarios. Okay, just bear
Okay.
with me for few more minutes on a
Okay.
slide so that you know the vocabulary. What I wanted to expect from these slides are just the vocabulary to be gained, nothing else
Okay.
actually. Okay, now let's understand the desktop analytics. So this is also called DA in a short, right? So desktop analytics is uh, this is basically a cloud-based service. If you see here, so what happens is, let's say uh, in a real world, real example, this is with most of you. In case if you, for example, uh, there is a SCCM server example, and you wanted to you might have all the clients maybe running with let's say 1809 build. So right, Windows 10 has different builds, right? Windows 10 has a different builds. For example, 1809 is one of the build, right? So you wanted to upgrade this build to next version. Let's say that can be the next version can be in 1909 example, or 20H2, or 21H1 example. So this is how Microsoft is releasing every half years. That's a 6 months. They're releasing a new build. So every time they release a new build, and every 6 months of the time, what happens? Your applications should also be compatible. Your drivers also should be compatible. Think practically that um, if you're staying on 1809, after 18 months of the time, this is not supported operating system anymore. For even though you are staying on a Windows 10, Windows 10 is not supported after 18 months. So what you have to do, you have to compulsory have to upgrade to the next build. There's no other option for you. So you must have to upgrade so that you get these security patches and you are in a supported uh, build. For that, of course, you can do it straightforward, but think about the application compatibility drivers. So this is a bigger challenge for any SCCM admin or any other person. So what we do is normally, so if you're already working on this environment, you might be picking up some machines manually from some business unit, or you build with those applications and the drivers and you test it, right? So what happens is, in a real world, after uh, hello, are you able to hear, right? So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so after few deployments, it actually fails those applications running, or compatibility issues might come, or maybe a blue screen might come. So different issues will come once you actually hit to the production. So then, if dig the root cause, you might be come to a state that, hey, I have not actually tested with this specific application because application was not part of your proper pilot, or when you're trying to test it, this from this build to this build, you were actually not included this application machines ever on your pilot machines. right? So this is common thing that you might get it. So to address this, Microsoft, what they have done is they actually come up with a plan that a cloud service, all the applications data and operating system hardware drivers, everything will be uploaded with the help of SCCM to DA, that is a desktop analytics, is a cloud service, as I said. So like similarly, your company is X example. So like X company, there could be a Y and Z or different companies, right? So they know that what kind of applications are available on what build, right? So Microsoft is evolving, right, with your all the data, and also when it is crashing, the crashing points also they will send it. I mean, your machines will send to Microsoft data, of course. As part of the DA, they collect this information. They tell you that we are collecting, okay, and once they collected that information, they can come up with a proper possible test machines. So in your case, what you have done, you actually picked up the manually the pilot machines, but in this case it's a fully automated. The pilot machines identification is will be helped you from desktop analytics, not the deployment. I'm not talking about how to upgrade from 1809 to 1909 or other build. I'm talking about identifying the right audience, right test machines, right pilot machines. That's where desktop analytics will help you, and also that will tell you what application, what driver, what hardware model is a good and might not work, might work, or has issues publicly. All that information will be shown. In case if you ever work with the application compatibility in the past, so similar thing, uh, here you would be getting it, right? So now there's another product, as we talked earlier, Autopilot. So Autopilot is simple. When you're trying to install with a Windows 10, what would happen? It will ask few of the OOB experience. If anybody doesn't know what is OOB, out of box, meaning when you get a hardware from uh, a Lenovo vendor, or when you purchase that, or maybe HP, Dell, whatever the vendor, okay? So it starts asking for username and your regional keyboard, language, all of that stuff, right? So that can be fully automated. Along with that, the applications comes from Intune. Okay, that's another thing. Okay, it's not just this. In other way to explain Windows Autopilot, let's say I'm putting a real business case. Let's say you have a bigger company, you are ordering maybe 1,000 devices from either Lenovo or maybe Dell or HP. What do you do? So once they ship it, in current situation, you're actually imaging them, meaning they already shipped with the Windows 10, right? But what you're trying to do, you're formatting and then you're installing the required operating system, then patches, and then applications and drivers. So this is additional cost, additional time, additional efforts that every company is putting, right? So to address this, Microsoft come up with a technology called Windows Autopilot. These guys, whatever they shape it, it actually comes to you, and then you're putting some effort to format and then do the installation, right? Now with the Autopilot, what we can do is we can use these machines as it is. No matter that you need to reformat it, you don't need to do anything. You just have to start the machine. And in the backend, okay, in the backend, let me explain what happens. So either this Lenovo guys or Dell or HP or whatever the hardware vendor or reseller. Okay, I use it two words. If you're directly partner with OEM vendor, that's a different story. If you're partner with a reseller also, what you can do is you can request them to send the complete hardware IDs information to you, or they can actually upload directly to Microsoft Windows Autopilot portal. So there's a portal kind of thing. Within that, they can actually upload the hardware ID. What exactly hardware ID, my friend? Hardware ID is a unique ID. Okay, and this ID cannot be uh, duplicated for any other machine because it's actually based on the BIOS and other hardware specs. It actually generates an ID, random ID kind of thing. It comes in a CSV format or Excel format. Long lengthy code will be there. Okay, so that information for this 10,000 or 1,000 machines, line by line, they either send you in a Excel format to you, or we can ask them to upload to the portal. Let's say if they upload it, they can do it. If they send it to you, this hardware file, what you do is you actually upload to the Intune portal or Windows Autopilot portal. What to be done after that? So I'm just talking about the backend, right? So once you upload it, either you can assign, for example, there's a user called Chris. We can assign this Chris a specific computer. Let's say Chris team works with AutoCAD. Lot of great designing GPUs to be needed. So that that serial numbers this contains are a specific GPU used. So you can simply assign a randomly one of the machines so that when the machine actually starts, it will be automatically install the required applications, and also the complaints policies and customization of your complete windows, including group policies, joining to your Azure Active Directory as well as to your on-premises Active Directory. Everything will be fully automated. Okay, so you can either assign, or if you don't assign, what happens is the user have to enter the username and password. But what happens if you assign is it will straightforward says that, welcome Chris, please enter your password. It will straightforward ask for the password when the machine was started. Imagine that your hardware vendors sent a machine to you as an end user. When you start it, it just asks for the username, and it even not even ask for the username. It will straightforward welcomes with your name, with your company name, and then it asks for your password to enter. So all these efforts, like installing the latest drivers or maybe applications and custom image, like you guys worked with uh, operating system deployment in the past, right? How difficult it was for creating image and SEO configuration, SOE configuration. All that stuff is no more needed because everything can be fully automated with the Autopilot technology. Okay, so we are going to deep dive this as we go through it. So what I was expected out of this, I was expected you to know about these 5 different products that we discussed so far, and we are going to learn about Microsoft Intune. I was expected you to know there are 5 different technologies or products that we have, and we're going to learn about Microsoft Intune, and we're going to touch up with the Microsoft um, Intune and SCCM with a combination of co-management. And we're not going to learn about the DA because that requires the Azure subscription, additional topics, that is Windows Autopilot, we will deep dive. So to manage all these 5 things, now Microsoft come up with a new product, right? That's called the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, right? So with this Microsoft Endpoint Manager, it also have a portal, a web portal that's called Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center. So in the past, we used to have a dedicated portal for Microsoft Intune. This portal got retired, and now it's just the one portal, which is in this case Admin Center, Endpoint Manager Admin Center. So all of these 5 different products, you can work with the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center. Okay, now let's talk about other topics in this case. Let's say uh, let's try to understand. I might confuse you also for some time because we were talking about 5 different products, but most of the time Microsoft Intune or SCCM, which is a config MGR here, will be used on any of the company or both, right? But when to use both, when to use only one, either Intune or config MCR. You need to know a business case, right? So here is a business case. I simplified, very simple. Let's say you have everything on a cloud, then go for Intune. Okay, you don't have any footprint on premises, then just the Intune. But you have only on-premises environment, then go for SCCM. But let's say you have cloud footprint as well as on-premises, then utilize co-management, meaning you have to actually manage your workloads. My friends, remember workloads. I told that what exactly the workloads are the your features that you can manage it, right? So we're going to deep dive that when we go to the co-management. But you have here a business case, what is right for you. So now let's understand about the ancient capabilities. We have been talking about last 30 minutes close to about the Microsoft Endpoint products. Now let's deep dive into only Intune capabilities. As you know that Intune can be managed your mobile devices like iOS or Android, Google Android or Windows 10 devices, and also you can push the applications. At the same time, some of the settings, let's say there would be some settings like if you take any of the phone, you might have a settings, right? Within the settings there could be uh, locking or locking your mobile data, or mobile data s- maybe a quota can be configured, right, within your phone. So such kind of settings called Microsoft app mobile application management, we call it. So that specific settings also we can manage it. In case if that specific settings, let's say there should be a setting like disabling the airplane mode or maybe mobile data example, or you are expecting a specific setting. If that specific setting is not available on your mobile device, still you can actually create a hardware vendor specific mobile URIs. But again, in this situation, you should actually get the inputs from your mobile vendor, right? Because it's not that you define, you can't say that XYZ things to happen. It doesn't that. So there should be some kind of specific settings to be done. Okay, so that's the MDM specific, MEM specific, and you can prevent email access outside of your organization. You can do that pretty well with the Intune. You can secure the company's devices and even personal devices. Within that personal devices, any of the company specific applications can be completely encrypted. By default, what happens is, by default, it actually creates a isolation. Um, like let's say there is a device owned by you called personally owned. We're going to deep dive that personally owned and corporate owned devices configurations in the upcoming lectures. But for now, if I just give you an example, okay, if I just give you an example that you can actually do very well the configuration. uh, Let me show you that device. Let's say this is device is owned by you, and when I say you, actually you're the end user, okay, in this case. So your company pushed Word, Excel, Outlook, maybe OneDrive for Business, or maybe Teams in this case, or PowerPoint. So these applications work area fully encrypted, and the data that cannot be transferred from here to Facebook or from mails to Twitter or Facebook. You can do that kind of configuration, meaning you're protecting your company data. Okay, let's say if this is device itself owned by corporate, you can fully protect that also, the device. There are multiple options within the corporate. We're going to work on 4 different options that you have with corporate. Like company can buy and offer you to use even personal applications. Sometimes they don't want allow your personal application. They just want to keep it only these 6 applications. Okay, so and these data for these applications to open, also you can put some kind of passcode with the compliance policies, and even for the mobile device also you can put some kind of complex password. Then only these applications can be installed or can be utilized. So these things only can be done when you have the mobile is completely enrolled into your Intune, and then you can do this kind of stuff. Okay, so these are the few of the options that you have with Microsoft Intune. Right now, let's also have a look on some other capabilities. um, You can deploy applications. You can, let's say if there is some antivirus you deployed, and that antivirus, that firewall settings or that policies, if it is not available on that device, you can block the device to access your corporate applications. You can do that. You can push the Wi-Fi and VPN settings. So even as part of this labs, we are going to also work with the GPOs. Okay, let's say as in today date, you also have Microsoft uh, on-premises environment where you have group policies, right? So those group policies can be actually applied from Intune also, meaning it's a complete replacement. At least 99.49s you can replace your on-premises group policies uh, with the help of Microsoft Intune. Okay, in the last, if I'm correctly remember, May 10th or May 8th, somewhere Microsoft come up with templates with a lot of other group policy options. They have hard coded. And also you can do, let's say there's a scenario, even we can do that scenario also. Let's say currently you have on-premises environment where you have 100 or maybe 10 different group policies with 100 settings example. So what setting, where to configure within the Intune is a difficult for you, definitely, right? So you have been working from the last few years or couple of years with a specific group policy settings. All that settings now it's possible with Intune, but you need to find out where it is, right? It's also a challenge if practically work on that group policy. So Microsoft Intune come up with a group policy analytics, so where it's going to analyze what settings are available where, what settings are not cannot be pushed from Microsoft Intune. So all that data also available, so you can track it basically. All of that stuff. Can they access track our personal data? No, the personal data they cannot track, but they can track at least a few of the information. For example, what is the device model and what's the serial number of the device. All these things definitely they can. They should be able to do it. Otherwise you don't get that option to manage completely. We're gonna deep dive on that, but yes, certain extent they can track, certain extent they cannot track, my friend. You have that option within Gopi, I think. Yeah. And so you can block with the security policies jailbroken devices, or kind of settings. You can push the Wi-Fi, VPN settings, all of that configuration settings. Let's say there are some kind of settings. When I talk about the group policies, definitely you wanted to restrict maybe control panel applets, or maybe start button layout, certain things, right? Like OneDrive sync to be automatically happen, redirection, folder redirection to should be happen. All that stuff can be done with the help of Intune. Okay, these are the some of the capabilities that you have with the Intune. Okay, now now also I think I left a few of other points, like here you get some of the reports, all of the stuff. Okay, so these are the few capabilities. We are going to deep dive every feature, everything that is there in Microsoft Intune portal. We're not going to leave anything. These are just the high level, so that yes, these are the few things you can expect, at least with curiosity. That's why I explained some of the capabilities. Okay, but we're going to deep dive with all the capabilities that Intune can do. Okay, now. Uh, Now, how do you access this? Like either you can go with the endpoint.microsoft.com website, and this actually helps you to take it to the portal, very similar to this kind of portal. This is a Microsoft Admin Center, meaning I said earlier, if you remember, you can manage directly from here the all the Intune portal or SCCM specific configurations or desktop analytics reports, everything can be done from here. By the way, Intune is most popular for schools and colleges in Europe and in US. Okay, because most of the colleges, if you take it 10 colleges, at least 6 to 8 colleges will have Microsoft Intune already, and they get a cheaper discount to manage their devices. So that's where the Intune for education will be. The console and the activities remain same. You might not work with that, but if you work with this, that's more than enough. Okay, so coming back to the licensing, it's a good question. Licensing, so there's a Microsoft document. Okay, so earlier we used to uh, get a paper kind of license with a specific thing. If for example, if I want SharePoint, I just get the SharePoint, or maybe exchange specific. But when it comes to the cloud, so it is a combination of different product licenses, meaning Intune can be part of multiple different products. It can be part of different products also. Let's see, if you can see here, you have your Office 365, E5, E3, and EMS5. So this is EMS5, and this is for E3, and you have a Business Premium, F1, F3. These all are the licenses. Okay, either you can use any of these licenses for managing Microsoft Intune. Okay, so how can I go ahead and create a lab? That should be the next question. How can I practice, as I explained to you? So you can also do practice this entire Intune for free for 90 days, and later point you can extend up to 1 year also. There's a different methods, but for now, how can I get the trial license? I would recommend you to try with EMS license, E5 or E3, because this has additional features also. So Microsoft Intune uh, can be just the mobile device management, but it in the back end it actually uses Microsoft Azure Active Directory, right? So Azure AD license also needed to perform certain activities. For example, as I said earlier, if you remember, if the device is coming from home location or unknown location or non-secure location, you can block that access, right, my friends? So that can be done very well with the help of Azure AD Premium license. So that also part of this E5. So I just wanted to go with E5 license, EMS license. This is Enterprise Mobility license. So let me actually search here. If you're trying to give a trial, just go for with this keyword like EMS trial.